Hello and welcome to Family Cooking Time with Beignets. Oh my! This Mardi Gras treat is such a blast to make, so let's get started. Your kit will include 1 packet active dry yeast, 1/4 cup sugar, 3¼ cups flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of powdered sugar. From home, you'll need 3/4 cup warm water, 1 egg, 1/2 cup of milk, any kind of milk will do, 2 tablespoons of butter, margarine is totally fine, and enough vegetable oil for frying, at least 16 ounces, I would say. You'll also need either a mixer with a dough hook attachment or a bowl and a spoon, 1 measuring cup, a small bowl, 1 or 2 plates, and some paper towels, a large or medium saucepan, something to roll your dough with, like a rolling pin, something to cut your dough with, like this bench scraper or knife, and then something like this metal spatula for frying. So, we are going to start by attaching our dough hook to our stand mixer. Again, if you don't have a KitchenAid mixer, just go ahead and use a bowl and a wooden spoon. With warm water, probably the warmest your tap will go, even if you have one of those very, very hot taps. We're going to pour our 3/4 cup warm water into our mixing bowl, add in our packet of yeast. Make sure you really give this yeast packet a good shake and shimmy. You want to get all the little yeast particles out of the packet and into the water. And then we are finally going to add, well, once we get all of the yeast out of that packet, there we go. Then we are going to add our 1/4 cup of sugar, which is what the yeast needs to eat and start fermenting to create lift in our dough. So once you've got your sugar poured into your mixing bowl, go ahead and just put it on low. You're just mixing to combine pretty much until the yeast mostly dissolves. That looks about right. Once your yeast and sugar are dissolved in the warm water, we are going to add our 1 egg. This might be something for kids to help with, or it might not. Depends on your kids' fine motor skills, I guess. We're going to crack our 1 egg. We're going to add our 1/2 cup of milk. And we're going to add our 2 tablespoons of softened butter. Just leave your butter out on the counter for a little bit. You don't want it hard directly out of the refrigerator. And then we're going to mix that all together on low until the egg yolk is broken up. Don't worry about the big butter lumps in your seemingly liquid mix here. It's going to get mixed in once we start adding in the flour. We're going to add the flour half at a time. So I'm just going to do half into the mixing bowl, and then put my mixer on low until the flour has incorporated some of the liquid and it looks like we aren't going to get flour everywhere. I'm going to add our salt just on top as the mixer's running. It's really not that much salt, so it's inconsequential. You can just pour it in while your mixer's going, or you can turn it off. It wouldn't make a difference. So I'm just going to let the mixer go on the lowest speed until it looks like flour isn't going to fly all over my kitchen. Once things look pretty, well, safe, we'll say, I'll turn my mixer off and then go ahead and add in the other half of my flour. Okay, once I get that other half of the flour mixed in, I'm going to just keep it on the lowest setting again until a lot of the flour looks like it's been incorporated into the dough, and then I'm going to turn it up one more, just on a medium-low. We're not really trying to knead this dough, just get it into kind of a smooth-ish uniform consistency. We're not trying to build any gluten, but once the dough all comes together, that's pretty much when it will be done. It's going to be a little bit lumpy. It'll definitely be sticky, but not so sticky that it should severely stick to your hands. You can give it a little slap. It'll have a tacky kind of feel to it, but it's not going to get on your hands really if you slap it. So we now have to leave our dough to rise. So what we're going to do, you can see there's just a little bit on my hands from grabbing it. I'm actually going to just scoop this out onto my countertop. You can see how I'm kind of using my hand as a shovel. There you go. If you maintain contact, it will stick to you, but if you just kind of slap it, it'll just be tacky. I am scooping it out on my countertop. I'm going to hit my mixing bowl with a little bit of cooking spray. If you have a little bit of the extra oil from frying, you can just give it a quick wipe on the inside of your bowl. Don't even worry about cleaning it. And then I'm just going to, again, scoop it back into my mixing bowl and cover it with a towel. It doesn't matter where you leave it. You can leave it just on your countertop. Just put it out of the way. And it's going to rise for about an hour until it's doubled in size. About half an hour into that rise, I start preparing for frying. So what I'm going to do is take my powdered sugar and a small bowl, and I'm just going to empty that powdered sugar into my little bowl. Doesn't really matter what bowl you use, what size you use. You could even leave the powdered sugar in the bag, even though I think it's a little bit difficult to work with it that way. But just empty your powdered sugar out into a bowl. And then we're also going to need 2 plates. It doesn't matter what kind of plates you use, paper, ceramic, whatever. On one of the plates, we're going to cover with a double layer of paper towels. And then the other plate is just going to be empty. That's actually going to be the plate we're going to serve them on. So when we're ready to fry, about half an hour into the rise, I put the saucepan on the stovetop. We want to fill it with 2 to 3 inches of vegetable oil. That's why we didn't tell you how much vegetable oil you're going to need. You need at least enough vegetable oil to fill your pot 2 to 3 inches. Next, I set up my plate with my paper towels, my powdered sugar bowl, and then my serving plate, and now I'm all ready to fry. You want the oil to be ready to fry about the time your beignets are done rising. So about 30 minutes in, I set my oil on the stovetop at about a medium low. We're going to try and hit a temperature of 360 degrees and keep it there. So you don't want to turn the stove up any higher than medium low, even though it's going to take a long time to heat up. If you have a thermometer, feel free to use it. But if you don't, you can tell if the oil is ready by using a wooden spoon. If the oil is too cool, when you stick the wooden spoon in, or a bamboo spoon like I have, nothing will happen. No bubbles will form. That's how you know the oil's too cool for frying. If you stick your wooden spoon in when the oil's too hot, bubbles will rapidly start to form and go away from the spoon. Then the oil's too hot to fry. It's probably at like 400 or 450. Remember, if your oil is too hot, the beignet will cook on the outside before it has a chance to cook on the inside, and your beignets will be really dark and kind of burnt. We don't want that. When the temperature is just right, the wooden spoon stuck in the oil, some bubbles will form. You'll be able to see some bubbles, but they won't go away from the spoon quickly. They'll kind of stick around the spoon, and that's how you know that your oil is the right temperature for cooking your beignets. All right, so it's been about an hour. My dough has doubled in size. Now it's time to cut our shapes. So I'm going to take a rolling pin and just roll this out into a nice big rectangle. You'll notice I didn't put any flour on my countertop. I didn't put any flour on top of the dough. It'll be tacky, but it shouldn't stick too aggressively to your countertop in any way that is going to hurt your final product. So don't worry about it. Just roll it out. You're going to roll it out until it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. And then once you have a nice big rectangle of beignet dough, it's time to slice it into shapes. If you don't have a bench scraper, that's what I'm going to use. I totally recommend getting one. They're the most useful thing I have in my kitchen. But you can also use a chef's knife or a pizza cutter. Might be fun to have the kids come and help cut your beignets into shapes. Squares or triangles are traditional. I'm not going to worry too much about making sure they're all exactly even, the same size, unlike most things we do in the kitchen, because I'm going to fry these one at a time. If you're frying in a bigger pot with more oil, more power to you, you want to fry a couple at a time, then by all means try and make them the same size, but I'm not going to worry about it. So to fry these bad boys, we are going to just carefully drop them into our oil one at a time and let them fry on the first side for 1.5 minutes. The bottom side that's been in the oil will hit a nice golden brown. Very carefully with our spatula or our frying spider or whatever, we're going to flip them over and then fry them on the other side for another 1.5 minutes. So that's about 3 minutes total to fry the entire beignet, and then I pull it out of the oil and transfer it to the paper towel plate to kind of let some of the oil drip off. So let me show you my kind of assembly line process here for frying. I get one in the oil. When I pull that one out, I transfer it to the paper towel plate. I carefully lay the next beignet in the oil. About the time I flip the beignet in the oil over, I transfer the beignet from the paper towel plate to the powdered sugar, and then onto the serving plate, and then I continue kind of in that fashion, giving enough time for the hot beignet to kind of leak some of the grease out onto the paper towel plate before rolling them in the powdered sugar. And then I have one kind of in each station as I'm going, even though I find they don't stay on the serving plate for long when I make these because people come around to eat them. Remember that these are a sometimes treat, not an all the time food, but also remember that these are best served hot, so you definitely want to enjoy them the day that you make them. They probably won't last very long anyways, especially if you're cooking these with your family. They will be gone in a flash, but leftover they don't really keep. Once all of your beignets are fried and your oil has cooled completely, you don't want to pour it down your sink. The best way to dispose of it is actually to pour your cooled oil into a Ziploc bag, sealed tightly, and then dispose of it that way. So there's our finished beignets. Again, roll these in powdered sugar, sprinkle them with powdered sugar. They're delicious donuts that are great for parties and celebrations, which hopefully we'll all be able to have very soon. If not, just enjoy them at home with your family. I hope that you had a great time making them. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us on social media. We're more than happy to answer them. And if you take any pictures of the process or the finished product, please tag us. And I will see you next time.